Welcome to the spring equinox of the Magical Readathon. In my journey through Aurelium, I aim to become a master of elements, and the classes I need to pass are Animal Studies, Astronomy, Conjuration, Elemental Studies, Restoration, and Shapeshifting. The first class I aim to pass is Conjuration, which had the prompt of picking a book based on a color wheel, and I got green, so I chose A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. Okay, so if you watched my Magical Readathon TBR video, I said I was the most nervous to read this book because I tried to read it 2 or 3 years ago for another readathon that I did, and I ended up DNFing it about I think before 100 pages because it was so slow and I was not connecting to the characters and I was starting to get a little bit pissed off. So I was very nervous to read it because I didn't want to DNF it, then have to pick another book for the readathon. It would have been too much of a hassle. So I was hoping to finish it, but I wasn't expecting too much. Color me surprised, and that's funny because the prompt was a color wheel. It's not that funny, I'm sorry. Color me surprised because I ended up giving this book 4 stars, and this is a purely enjoyment rating. Like, I'm not thinking analytically for the rating, like just the way, the speed at which I was flipping through these pages after I got past 100 pages. To be honest, I had to get past at least 100 or 120 pages or so because it was still very slow, and I still almost DNF'd it at the same point I DNF'd it last time. I was like, no, I have to give it a try, and I pushed past, and there was a couple more pages I had to get through, but then I was flipping through. I needed to know what was happening. I was like, don't play my face, I need to know what's happening. So I ended up giving this book 4 stars. Let me give you the synopsis real quick and then I'll come back. For Malik, the Solstacia Festival is a chance to escape his war-stricken home and start a new life with his sisters in the prosperous desert city of Ziran. But when a vengeful spirit abducts his younger sister Nadia as payment to enter the city, Malik strikes a fatal deal. Kill Karina, crown princess of Ziran, for Nadia's freedom. But Karina has deadly aspirations of her own. Her mother, the Sultana, has been assassinated. Her court threatens mutiny, and Solstacia looms like a knife over her neck. Grief-stricken, Karina decides to resurrect her mother through ancient magic, requiring the beating heart of a king. And she knows just how to obtain one, by offering her hand in marriage to the victor of the Solstacia competition. When Malik rigs his way into the contest, they are set on a heart-pounding course to destroy each other. But as attraction flares between them and ancient evils stir, will they be able to see their task to the death? Okay, so a couple things. Let's just talk about what I wasn't expecting in this book. So in the synopsis it says her mother was just assassinated. In the book it takes about 150 pages for her mother to be assassinated. I wasn't expecting that. I thought she was gonna be assassinated straight up. Also, there's as feelings flare, attractions flare. That was one of my issues with the book, where if I really said, yeah, let's put our brain into it, I'd say, okay, let me take off like a star or a half, because the romance in this book, I could see like inklings of it, but the feelings that they were expressing, or like the amount of attraction they had, or they said they had at points in this book, even at the end, I was like, that's too much now, because it took a good while for them to actually interact. And then after they did interact, the amount of times they interacted, and then the type of interaction that they had, it wasn't enough for them to say, oh my god, I'm developing feelings for the other person, or I'll risk somebody's life for this person. It wasn't enough for that to happen, right? But luckily I wasn't going into this for the romance, so I didn't have a problem with that, right? I enjoyed the magic that was in this book. I'm looking forward to learning more about this in the second book, but from what I saw, it wasn't the explanation of the magic that I loved, it was just the magic system itself.
Okay, so the next class I wanted to pass was Elemental Studies, which had the prompt of Source of Light on the cover, and I chose Descendants of Fire and Water by Didi and Ofianem. I gave this book 3 stars. I was a little bit disappointed. So the first issue that I had was that the author should probably have picked one stage of the MC's life to focus on. Instead, the author went into a handful of details about her life at home before she signed up for the military, while she was in military school, and finally when she joined the military and then joined an uber important super secret squad. Each segment of her life only began to get exciting for me before we moved on to something else. The synopsis says that SCN became the first woman to enlist, which isn't necessarily true, and I've mentioned it before. I don't like when synopses lie to me. Also stated in the synopsis is that SCN returned from the river with her powers, which is also not true. So the synopsis just pissed me off. I don't like the way the relationship between SCN and the president was written. I was very confused with it because there was a romantic relationship developing between SCN and the president throughout the book. And I was quite uncomfortable because there were quite a few scenes where SCN would mention how she was young and she would be watching this exact same president on the TV, like as the president talking. And then the author never mentioned the age difference. Nobody ever mentioned the age difference. Anybody who had a problem with it, it wasn't because of the age difference. In fact, there was a colleague of SCN who had a problem with the relationship, and it's not because of the age difference or the power difference between them. It was because he had heard of this prophecy that was like, if SCN and the president got married, they would be destined to destroy the world, and that's why the president wanted to marry her so that he could get powers to destroy the world or something like that. And I understand that authors can write negative things, but I just think it's strange that not one character had a problem with it. I did enjoy the magic system and the mythology, and I enjoyed Essian as a character for the most part, but I don't think I will be continuing this series. So the next class I passed was Animal Studies, which had the prompt of read a book with a yellow title, and I chose In the Shadow of the Fall by Toby Ogundiran. I enjoyed this book, but I am realizing more and more that short stories or novellas are not really for me. If I enjoy the story, I always want more, or I want more, so I don't enjoy the story as much as I wish I could, and I find issues with the pacing. So in this story, I had a few issues with the pacing as the time between the main character learning about basically belief shattering information and then finding out the information that they just learned was not true or not true in the way they learned was a little bit, not even a little bit, it was like way too close for me. And then the author also began to build a connection between the characters and the reader. However, I don't believe enough was done before we began to lose some of the characters. But I must say it was done well enough in terms of the main character and the side characters, so that when we began to lose side characters, the sadness that the main character felt was believable, so I could excuse the lack of development of connection between the reader and the side characters. I was interested in the mythology and wish more of it was shown on page. If the author decided to do a full length novel with this story, I would be interested in reading it. The next class I passed was Restoration, which had the prompt Book You Think Could Cure Slumps, and I chose Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation Volume 1 by MXTX. So I've watched The Untamed, I've watched MDZS, like The Dung Hall. I even read Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, like the entire series, when it was just a fan translation. Like, I struggled through the fan translation. So, I'm a dedicated fan. So, when it was getting officially published, I was so excited. But I only have volume 1. And I was saving it till I got all of them. I think it's 5 volumes, 6, I don't remember. But I was saving them until I could just do like a dedicated reading vlog. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll read it in this vlog. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I liked the reading experience, but it wasn't a 5-star reading experience. And I think it's because it was just like volume 1. It's just the introduction. Wei Wuxian is not really the yielding patriarch right now. And so it was cute. It was fun. There's also some nostalgia for me because remember I said I've consumed all this media, but it's 4 stars and I don't really have anything critical to say about it. I just it if there was a slump, it would have cured it because I am a stan and I will always be a stan. So live, laugh, love, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. Unfortunately, I did not complete this semester. I was unable to pass Shapeshifting, which had the prompt of read from an author who blurbed your last 5-star read. I had chosen The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Brecken, but I didn't get to it. So the last class I passed for the spring semester of the Aurelium school year is Astronomy, which had the prompt of a zodiac recommendation, and I got Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. Luckily, and one of the reasons I chose this out of the many recommendations that it wasn't that many, but like the recommendations that Pisces readers got, Anne of Green Gables is a book that I've given 5 stars the last, I think, 3 times I've read it. So it's on my list to read every year. Unfortunately, on this read, it only got, not only, but it got 4.5 stars. So now it's going to be moved to the biannual reread unless I give it 5 stars um year after next. But I don't know if it was because I was stressed about final exams that was happening and was trying to speed read this before the end of the Magical Readathon. I was literally reading it on the last day, but this reread didn't feel like a 5-star read. While I still found humor in this book, I found myself wanting to put the book down more often than I actually wanted to read the story, which is not that great and it's not a good feeling, especially, Anne is my girl. However, I still love to see the different types of love in this book. And as always, I loved Anne. So yeah, 4.5 stars. And that is the end of the Magical Readathon. As I said, I did not pass all of my classes, but I did have fun, even though I was stressed about exams, which was literally happening in between these classes that I'm taking for the Magical Readathon. But I hope you had fun too. Regarding liking, commenting, and subscribing, do what you want. Bye.